Giving thanks, the past is but a memory, the future is yet to be, today is the present, a gift for you and me. Another long day finally ended, and by this time I was not in a good mood. The design company I worked for had put in a last-minute request to have their #1 product heavily available over the holidays. And of course, I was the lucky one that was chosen to make a presentation in a part of the country that needed our vision and products in their storefronts. Downtown Croydon was making a comeback, and we were on board to help push the product's image onto their scene and into real stores. We were told that the fashionistas were already anxiously waiting online for our trendy outfits. We jumped ahead knowing that clothing, especially women's wear, had become our hot market item. The latest patterns were a tribute to the days of women in the art world of the last century and one especially important artist, Georgia O'Keeffe. We had hundreds of design sketches in the works before narrowing it down to the ones that spoke to our image and our newest theme of honoring this artist. The ones chosen were reflective of Georgia's mid-century modernism style, but especially the large, and I mean large, floral images. Her flair and feeling for Mother Earth brought our staff to a level of design with deep humbleness and creativity, but her legend will never be replicated. I took a deep breath, shook my head and loaded my car for the long drive ahead. I get it. My suggestion from the very beginning was what prompted the art challenge for the company. They felt it worthy to take it to an extremely high level. I should be thankful for the chance to promote myself as well as the artist. If Georgia only knew, what would she say to me? My apartment was locked up and I was ready to go. My roommate had my info and wished me luck, knowing this was not a fun getaway but just a work gig pushing my buttons. Merging onto the highway, I hit my favorite Tunes app on my iPhone and settled into the drive. 6 hours of going down the highway and back roads was such a thrill to look forward to. Don't get me wrong. Art is my strong suit in so many ways, but the business side was so stressful, it was sapping the happy side of a joyful life. Hour after hour went by, and as the evening darkness settled in, I felt the need to reflect on a few good things going on instead of drowning in the muddy part of my career. I thought back to the life of my grandfather, Eng-Viet, who was an architect in the heyday of the same era as Georgia O'Keeffe. His passion was landscape design as well as the stick building of architecture. Did they know each other through the world of art in the many projects in New York City? Central Park was one epic claim to fame of the architectural firm that lives on with its important impact of nature in the middle of the city. I think I need to have a conversation with him today. Good advice was in his skill set. I smiled, thinking of all his buddies over time who went through the pearly gates to meet up with him. The darkness was now making me pay more attention to the road. I was pretty weary, but not enough to call it a night before my final stop. The sky was now pretty dark, no clouds. The winter chill was skirting the last edge of the fall season as the hour of midnight approached. The traffic flow had now become mostly cross-country long haulers along with few cars here and there. I followed a truck that moved up ahead in the lane as he drove through a night construction area. We made it through a boondoggle of what seemed to be a crazy maze of road markers and finally straightened out. Suddenly, I was pulled into the confusion of an unforeseen accident of immense magnitude. The big rig that I had been following hit a road sign arching over the roadway that had been lowered yet not raised to allow for the safety of larger, taller vehicles or trucks such as the one I followed. The next thing that happened, the long-haul truck slammed straight into the sign and immediately jackknifed. In panic I tried to swerve but ended up rear-ending the truck with my SUV getting caught up in the undercarriage and dragged alongside. I screamed in panic to no avail. The screeching and hissing of brakes. The crunch of metal against metal forced a hit against my head on the steering wheel. With my face bleeding, I tried to open the window when a blaze of light suddenly lit up the area. Another truck as big as this one was thundering towards the accident. I screamed, watching in horror as the driver, not realizing the severity of the situation, caught the back end of my car before there was time to hit the brakes. The SUV folded up like cardboard, crushed like a sardine can, and was on fire. the triple vehicle mess spun severely out of control. Smoke filled the air and flames were spreading. I was alive yet numb, in shock, and trapped in my car. My mind drifted as sirens screamed in the air. I saw light and colors and F.
Birthing purpose through death, birthing purpose through death. When she looked back, Deb reflected how many times she succeeded in life. This journey called life had swung some big blows of disappointment in missed opportunity. Deb also reflected as she pondered in her memories of much success in great endeavors from much sweat and tears. She was an overachiever who always anticipated and looked for opportunities in her life. Somehow, she thought, this time I will succeed, everything will work out for the best. Deb was also an optimist who looked at the glass half full while she walked in life and fulfilled her dreams. There was never a dull moment as she lived life to the fullest. Deb was a dreamer and aimed her goals like an arrow being shot out to a target, never missing the mark because she believed in the power of prayer. Her life consisted of relying on faith in God and His hand in guiding her footsteps in life. Many adventures had unfolded with Deb's life, from doing mission work to traveling around the United States singing on television with her husband, Larry. She and her husband were a team in ministry for many years, reaching every culture as speakers in churches and teaching others how to collect food and clothes from those who had substance and desired to share to those who were hurting. Deb and Larry had 2 sons, Jacob and James, who was taught the way of missions and how to love others in a practical way. They too participated in the collections of things to give to the hurting and those who faced adversity in their lives. One day, Larry was experiencing medical issues in his body, so he went to the doctor and had blood work taken. When the test came back, the diagnosis was cancer. Deb and Larry along with their sons were shocked and distraught from the bad report. By this time, Jake and James have grown into men and were attending college while their mom and dad pastored a mission church locally. Many years have passed and many accomplishments were made with the hand of God guiding their ministry family. This bad news was like a rock being thrown into a window that once was flowing with a picture of assurance and grace, but now, the window had shattered into pieces. Deb fought through her disappointment and shook off the shock of the bad medical report while in the waiting room with Larry and her grown children. This life's journey had taken an unexpected curve, but Deb knew how to pray and she knew how to regroup her focus and take life a day at a time. The faith she and Larry had through those years in ministry had prepared both of them for such a time as this when their faith was tried by fire. She never dreamed of the what if something like this would happen when a curve ball was thrown in the game of life. Every day was different as more doctor appointments were made and every diagnosis with treatment wavered like a roller coaster where Larry nor Deb could get off the ride. All they could do was hold on and pray for a miracle. 1 year passed, then 2 years went by. The bills were piling up with no relief in sight. Hardship happens to all, but when a person is in the middle of the trial by fire, it's hard to see the purpose for the pain. By the 4th year, Larry had taken a turn for the worst. It took everything within Deb to keep the faith while fighting off the whys in this long cancer journey her husband had faced. They have been faithful in life and now this cancer journey. Deb knew God could see the bigger picture in life even though she could. Soon, Larry took his last breath on this earth. Deb put her head down in her hands as she sobbed with great grief and questioned God, Lord, now the ministry is dead, we've always been faithful to help others as a team, but my husband is gone. Deep within despair, Deb at that moment heard the still small voice in her spirit say, I'm doing a new thing, I'm giving you a new song. She lifted up her head towards heaven, knowing her God had responded with a slight flicker of hope that still burned within her soul. Deb wasn't sure what that meant but believed even with a small light of faith, she would carry on to look for her new purpose in life. During the last months of Larry, her late husband's life, Deb began journaling about her feelings and each day's events. She reflected back to the journal that had tear stains where she cried at times when the roller coaster dived down in disappointment and grief. While Deb read through her journal, all of a sudden, that still small voice deep within her very being spoke again, you will bless many with a book to bring encouragement and hope to those who are going through the fire of life. I will use you to heal the broken-hearted and restore faith within their hearts. Every day after this, Deb continued writing in her journal of the past 4 years of the cancer journey with her late husband, Larry. She wrote how God put scriptures and encouraging encounters of those who gave W.